Alrighty, welcome all to this public forum, which is an opportunity for members of the community to address councillors. I also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, and we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'll ask the General Manager to make a statement in regards to live streaming.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This meeting is being audio and video recorded, and the recording will be made available on the website. No other persons are permitted to record the meeting unless specifically authorised by Council to do so. In relation to Have Your Say, all speakers are requested to ensure their comments are relevant to the particular agenda item. The chairperson may withdraw the privilege to speak where a speaker makes personal remarks or criticisms or uses abusive or inappropriate language. Speakers do not enjoy any special protection arising from comments made during the forum and should therefore refrain from making defamatory remarks or personal defamatory statements against any individual. And can we set our mobile phones to silent, please? Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillors, we only have one Have Your Say speaker, and that's Mr Paul McCann, speaking for item 14.1, which arises from Councillor Robinson's notice of motion in relation to the creek land. So, Mr McCann, the floor is yours, 5 minutes, and then the councillors may wish to ask you some questions.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I notice that Councillor Robinson is not here yet. She might be the one that might be able to answer my questions. But my submission is to item 14.1 in the form of questions regarding stage 1 of the Generic Creek Rehabilitation Plan, which I support. As a volunteer with the Armidale Urban River Group, which I've been involved with for over 5 years, I have assisted the group remove many exotic trees and shrubs and establish plantings of native species on the creek banks. My concerns are in regard to the cycleway, which runs along the creek and is in need of an upgrade. It would appear that only a small percentage of the $3 million is to be spent on the shed path along Generic Street. There are several driveways along that section which constitute a hazard, especially for children who may be using the path. These driveway crossings can get busy with cars crossing the footpath at times. My question is, will there be any safety features included in the path upgrade to prevent accidents between path users and vehicles crossing the path? If one is to use the shared path to continue west beyond Markham Street, one is to cross Markham Street, which is often busy. Crossing at the roundabout requires path users to look not only left and right, but also behind and in front for vehicles that may be returning from Generic Street into Markham Street. A much safer crossing would be further north along Markham Street, where path users would only have to look left and right for oncoming traffic. Regarding the construction of the cycleway through Curtis Park, the cost is not shown. Has funding been allocated for that section? The section near the visitor centre immediately west of Stevens Bridge is very rough and water remains in the potholes after rain. The rough nature of the path has resulted in damage to users' bicycles, especially if they had to ride across that section twice daily to cycle to the shops or workplace and home again. Rerouting the cycleway along the north side of the creek on higher ground closer to Kirkwood Street would bypass that section, which is often unusable when the creek floods. The path could continue along or near Kirkwood Street and cross Markham Street well away from the roundabout at the Generic Street corner. A new section of cycleway could also be constructed along the north side of the creek between Taylor and Mar Streets, thus eliminating a number of crossings which flood after rain. The cycleway needs urgent reconstruction along the entire section between Taylor Street and Markham Street. When can cycleway users expect work to commence along the remainder of that section? Has Council considered applying for a grant to upgrade the entire cycleway and to extend it to Generic Dam and along Castleville Road to Blue Hole? Both destinations would make for interesting locations for both residents and visitors alike. They could have a picnic and leave both locations. Also, cycle path to Dangarth Falls has been suggested. Cycling reduces both greenhouse gas emissions and traffic congestion. Residents who choose to use a bicycle to commute to work place of study, all of the shops, should be encouraged to do so. The current poor condition of the cycleway through the Armidale urban areas is a discouragement to use a bicycle for their daily commutes. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mr McCann. Maybe just stay there. Councillors, I guess there's a few things. Councillors, do you have any questions of Mr McCann, or he's probably more interested in answers to some of his questions? Councillor Robinson.
Well, I did have a question because Mr McCann was talking about driveways, and I know that on that particular section I've had near misses with cars coming out of a driveway, so maybe you'd like to elaborate on that if it's possible. Thanks.
Well, just particularly when there's rugby league being played at the football ground, some people, particularly probably the losing side, they don't stop when they're exiting the grounds and crossing the footpath. They just go straight across. And I've had a few near misses. And also it's busy with the traffic to the aquatic centre there as well. And of course we've got New England Toyota down just further down near Markham Street, and couriers often turn in there in a hurry because they see a break in the traffic. And, you know, anyone on the footpath will watch out. Now, footpath, they should remind drivers they're supposed to stop when they cross the footpath. That's the law. So if they don't stop, they're breaking the law.
Thank you.
Can I just add a comment that we are going to be reviewing the active transport strategy in one of the key pillar working groups, and I do hope you'll contribute some ideas to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillors, any other questions or comments? Councillor McMichael.
If Mr McCann has an issue with stop signs or anything like that, he can direct the query to the Traffic Committee via my email. I can give it to him and things. In terms of your questions, I don't have any answers at this moment. You can direct some of them to, as Councillor Robinson said, to the committee, and we can possibly pass all the other questions out to other councillors who may know the answers to them and get them back to you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Mr McCann, I suggest in terms of getting an outcome, as you were speaking to Councillor Robinson's notice of motion, and you had a very detailed script there with about 10 questions, I started jotting them down. Can I suggest you forward that to Councillor Robinson? Or Han, there we go, old school. Thank you. And Councillor Robinson can get that pushed through the exec office and some answers coming back to you. All righty. Well, thank you all. 8 minutes. Let's take a break. We'll finish that. We'll call that the conclusion of the Have Your Say, and we will kick off again at 4 p.m. on the dot. councillors, staff, members of the gallery, we will let's get underway. Welcome to this Armidale Regional Council meeting of the 26th of February 2025, which is our first one for the year. Could I call upon Councillor McMichael to provide an acknowledgement of country?
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. The Armidale regional community pays tribute to their love of land, love of people and love of culture.
Thank you, Councillor McMichael, and Councillor Enders to provide a civic affirmation.
We, the councillors of the Armidale region, declare that we will undertake the duties of the office of the councillor in the best interests of our community and faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in us to the best of our skill and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Enders. I'll call upon the General Manager to make a statement in regards to live streaming.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This meeting is being audio and video recorded, and the recordings of the non-confidential parts of the meeting will be made available on the website. No other persons are permitted to record the meeting unless specifically authorised by Council to do so, and can all mobile phones be set to silent. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Mr General Manager. Councillors, I haven't received any apologies or leave of absence, and note that you're all here for the first one for the year, so that is great. Councillors, having reviewed the agenda, do any of you need to declare a conflict of interest?
Yep.
Councillor Witters.
For 12.2, just noting that I'm an employee of the New England Police District, non-pecuniary interest, intend to stay in the room for it, and I do apologise if I was supposed to send in a form for my conflict of interest. I forgot.
Thank you. Yes, a form is required, but I'm sure the paperwork can catch up. Right, councillors, item 5.1 is the confirmations of the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 11th of December. Can I have a mover for a motion, please? Thanks, Councillor McMichael, and a seconder is Councillor Redwood. Councillor McMichael, anything to say in that regard? No. Councillor Redwood?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
All righty. Well, let's put that to a vote. All those in favour of accepting those minutes? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Next one is item 7.1. This is a standing item. This is around ethical decision making. So it's to guide councillors in making ethical decisions, and council is being asked to note this report. Can I have a mover for that, please? Thanks, Councillor Gadders, and the seconder is Councillor Imad. Councillor Gadders, anything to say? Councillor Imad? All right, let's put that to a vote. All those just to note that report. Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously as well. Item 7.2, the Council Actions Report. So this summarises the actions taken on resolutions of Council from October 2024, which is the beginning of this term of Council. Council is being asked to note the report. We have details on page 7 of the agenda and page 17 of the attachments. Can I have a mover for a motion that's on the screen? Thanks, Councillor Imad. The seconder is Councillor Redwood. Councillor Imad, anything to say in regards to that actions report? Councillor Redwood, no. Okay, we now have a motion, so Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question through you, if that's okay. And that is, in future versions of this report, would it be possible to remove from the completed actions the things that don't need any actions, like when council just has to note something? It would just shorten it and make it a lot easier to read in future. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll just defer to the General Manager to see if an answer needs to happen now, or would you like to consider it?
I'll have a look at it, Mr Mayor, and see what we can just try and make sense of that.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Gadders.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to actually suggest that's not the best approach. Understand while it becomes a larger and longer report, for those at home keeping score, it's an opportunity to especially look at the contents, the comments section, and make sure that they can see how that particular item was closed and what the reasons for close were when it was closed. So I think there's actually a lot of valuable information in seeing the closed items as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Check. We were talking about the same thing. Because I was just thinking that when, I mean, for example, you've got to note that we've read that and that will appear in the minutes and there's no action required. Everything where somebody has to do something or there's any information that's relevant, I would certainly be supporting keeping. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll let the executive work that out. So we still have a motion here. All those in favour of, let's put it about, noting the council actions report. Excellent. Thank you very much. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 7.3 is a review of the community engagement strategy.
No, being told there's no sound. You're aware of it?
On the what stream?
Sorry,
We shall crack on. Item 7.3 is a review of the community engagement strategy. So council is required to place on its community engagement strategy on public exhibition. And the item, well, the proposed motion is that council engage with the community to ascertain their preferred methods of communication, among other things. So we have details on page 8 of the agenda and 34 of the attachments. There is a recommendation on the screen, but do I have a mover? And it's Councillor Robinson.
Well, I'm just wondering if you could actually add an extra phrase to that, to part F, if that's... Oh, sorry.
Okay, so you'd like to move a slightly amended motion.
And it should come up on the screen. So if I can get a seconder, then I'll move that motion.
Thank you. All right, so Councillor Robinson is the mover of the motion that's on the screen. Do we have a seconder? Okay, thank you. Councillor Witters has seconded that, so we now have a motion. Councillor Robinson, would you just like to speak to that at all?
Yes, I think community engagement is very, very important, and the better we can get at that, the better it will be for our council in the long run. So I just hope that we can get this on public exhibition, get any other constructive comments back, and that it will all, and we will then help us become a much better council in the future. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Robinson. Councillor Witters, anything to say?
Not really. Just wondering if Councillor Robinson can elaborate more on what she meant by councillors and staff collaborating, how you envisage that would happen.
Okay.
Well, it's basically things like just making sure that information is available when we need it. Like a good example was the Creeklands and the renovation of the Creeklands and stage 1 of the Creeklands, which the only way I found out about that was by asking a question on notice. But if we'd had other information earlier, the one that's already now at this particular meeting, I wouldn't have needed to ask the question. And also things like, I mean, I've probably had half a dozen requests from residents for the report it thing where the tracking hasn't gone as intended. And, you know, I sort of raised it via councillor direct that these things haven't been done. And then you get a profuse apology to the resident from the council staff, and just having something where we could really, you know, have a better tracking and reporting system, which again, we've just got to talk about among ourselves and with staff to find out the best way of doing it. But it would be a real improvement on what we've got already. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, councillors, any further discussion on this? All right, let's put this motion then to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Those against? No. I declare that one carried unanimously. Thank you. All right. Item 7.4 is the public exhibition of the workplace health and safety policy. So the report is seeking endorsement for public exhibition of the policy, and if there are no submissions received, then that policy will be adopted and reviewed within 2 years. If, of course, there are submissions, we would receive an additional report. So details are from page 11 of the agenda and 53 of the attachments. Could I call for a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Enders, and the seconder can be Councillor Imad. Councillor Enders, anything to say on this? No. Councillor Imad? All right. Any other councillors wish to speak at all? All right. Oh, Councillor McMichael?
Look, OHS is really important. It encourages, it's an all-encompassing thing for the workplace, for us all, and if people were to look at the OHS policy, it'd be great.
Good. Thank you. All right, let's put that to a vote. All those in favour of adopting the public exhibition of the OHS policy, thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. We now move into the finance reports. I'd like to do items 8.1, 8.2 and 8.4 together. So they are the 3 cash and investment reports. So for November and December of 2024 and January of 2025. So we'll consider them as one. So these reports provide an overview of the cash and investments for each of the 3 months. At the end of November, the Council held $133 million in investments and $11.2 million in cash. Also in that period, we earned in excess of $1 million of interest. So there is plenty of good news tucked into some seemingly benign reports. So taking all of those together, could I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Witters, and a seconder can be Councillor Gadders. Councillor Witters.
Just something that just popped into my head. Just in regards to your comments, would they, I suppose it's a point of order, as the mover of the motion, should it be my responsibility to mention what you've just said before? Because it comes across as you speaking to the recommendation before a motion has been moved. Is that my responsibility as the mover to talk what's in those things or not?
No, Councillor Witters, you'll recall we had this discussion in the last term of council. We even sought advice to that extent.
Yeah, we did.
The purpose of...
Maybe, I can't remember it.
The purpose of me giving an overview largely is so that those watching from home and those tuning in understand what, something about the motion. So,
which is what I was thinking the mover of the motion would do in case I decided to move something else. But I'll move it, and it's a good report. So all 3 out of those are really well done. So well done to the staff.
Thank you. Councillor Gadders, you were the seconder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, some great reports. I'm just going to the last one. There we go. Thank you. Great results. I find these reports interesting, contrary to the Mayor's comments. Look, what I did want to point out, while it sounds like quite heady numbers, million in interest over that particular term, again, I'd like to make the public aware the key number is the unrestricted cash sitting in the general fund, which is currently sitting at just over 4.6 million. That is our rainy day backup money. So if we can keep that number around that 5 to 6 million mark, then we are in good shape. So well done to the team. Keep going. Thank you.
All right. Councillors, any other comments before we vote on those 3 items? All right, let's put it to a vote. All those in favour of noting those reports? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. The next one that I want to jump to is item 8.3, which is the second quarter budgetary review. So the item is asking Council to note that second quarter for this financial year budgetary review. So that will be October to December. The consolidated result is a reduction in the budgeted surplus. So we've, from what was originally budgeted of 891 down to 264,000. Details of this, for those that are following, page 27 of the agenda and 55 of the attachment. So there is a recommendation on the screen with a bit of detail to it. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Gadders, and a seconder can be Councillor Redwood. Councillor Gaddis. Thank you. Councillor Redwood.
Likewise, nothing to add or ask.
All right. Councillors, let's put this to a vote. All those in favour of noting that second quarter budgetary review. Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. We now move to the 9 series, planning and activation. So the first one, 9.1, is the electric vehicle charging policy. So the policy really is to provide guiding principles for the installation, management and maintenance of, and removal actually, of electric vehicle charging infrastructure on land owned or managed by council. This is becoming quite an issue. So details from page 41 of the agenda and 74 of the attachments. There's a recommendation on the screen to bring this about. Can I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Redwood. Seconder can be Councillor McMichael. Councillor Redwood.
Well, as you indicated, Mr. Mayor, this is an important policy for us to have in place because electric vehicles are becoming more and more popular, whether it be locals that have them here or people passing through. So having this policy is important for us to land. So that's all.
Thank you. Councillor McMichael.
I'd like to echo Councillor Redwood's comments and to say this is good for tourism and good for the region so that we can have a solid policy all over the place and not just be up and down and random. So it's great to have a policy. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillors, anyone else wish to speak to EVs or charging stations? All right. Those in favour of placing that on public exhibition? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 9.2 is around the outcome of the public exhibition of the concept plans for the upgrade of the old courthouse walkway. We decided to put that on. That went on public exhibition in December, and the item is seeking council's endorsement of the final plan. So details are from page 42 of the agenda and 74 of the attachments. There is a recommendation on the screen. However, I note Councillor Robinson would like to move a slightly different motion.
Which is now on the screen, which is basically discussing the fact that that if we don't get the heritage funding, which hopefully we really, really will do, then maybe the scope of the project should be reviewed by council. And if the application is successful, as was probably stated at the 11th of December meeting, so I'd like to move that, just so that we know what's happening with the grant funding. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Do I have a seconder for Councillor Robinson's motion? Councillor Ahmed, thank you. Councillor Robinson, would you like to... Now we have a motion on foot. Would you like to speak a bit more fully to it?
Yeah, well, this walkway will be really, really important. And I think it is nice that it's going to be upgraded because, making them all more easy for to walk through and get to the super playground and all the other things will be a great boon to our community, and having a nice area as well will be really, really, really great. So I approve it, and I think the plans are good. They were generally approved by all the submitted of, nearly all the submitters. I think there was 5% didn't like either option, but a lot of them did. So it does seem fair to increase the funding from 400,000 to 600,000 for this. But I think again we did discuss at the last meeting that if we don't get the funding, then we should maybe review the scope of it. We want it to go ahead as quickly as possible, but maybe review the scope if we can't get the funding. But hopefully we will be, and then there'll be no issues at all. It'll go ahead straight away. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ahmed, you were the seconder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second this motion, as I believe if the grant is not funded, it should come back to council and reassessed. If there's a cost blowout, probably there's other priorities where the money should go. So I think that's why I'm supporting it. Should be looked at again. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillors, any other? Councillor Gadders.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I absolutely agree with the overall policy. To be honest, neither here nor there on F. I don't think it really makes a lot of difference to the policy of what's going on here. I will take the opportunity to say in the business papers, when this actually went out for public comment, an exhibition and kiosks in the street and feedback online and that 91% of respondents supported this project. So I think that's a very clear figure and statement by our community saying they want this to be done. Yes, it's going to be a much easier project if we get the grant funding. I think the staff and senior team are very realistic. I don't think that we actually need to go back into the detail if the grant funding is not given to us. I think that there'll be a path forward suggested and you know, sense will prevail. But as I said, I'm not opposed to the overall. I think it's a very good project and we need to get it done.
Thanks, Councillor Gadders. Councillor McMichael.
I'd like to echo Councillor Gadders' comments. Everyone was really enthusiastic, and I think it's a terrific project, and it's really great. It's going to see what we can do with a really significant part of the mall.
Councillor Redwood.
I'd like to echo the echo of Councillor McMichael's comment about Councillor Gadders' comment, but I think it is important. I don't actually think it's important to bring it back though through. I don't really support F. I think E was satisfactory, but you know, in the end, if it must. But I think in essence, Councillor Gadders' point of the amount of support that the proposals had, the engagement that we had, the fact that we got people's opinions back on option 1 and option 2, and from that we've made an option 3. I think that's excellent because we've got a hybrid of everything that was good about each, and ultimately, you know, go forth and create the walkway.
Excellent.
And I'd also like to be an echo because I think this project is well overdue, and I wouldn't really like to see anything to hold it up, to be honest. So whatever we can do to make it move forward, we should do.
Terrific. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. All right. For fear of this becoming an echo chamber, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 9.3 is the finalisation of the planning agreement for the Oxley Solar Farm. So the report is acknowledging the submissions received during the public exhibition of that planning agreement and seeks Council's endorsement of it. It should be noted, though, that this particular planning agreement was the first one negotiated in the previous term of Council, and that set the benchmark throughout the state for what is considered best practice. So there is a little bit of landmark about it. Details are from page 52 of the agenda and 95 of the attachments. There is a recommendation on the screen outlining the steps required to bring this about. So could I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Redwood, and the seconder is Councillor Robinson. Councillor Redwood.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. As you've pointed out, it is a landmark in a sense, and the fabulous work that's been done in creating and making these planning agreements come to life for the benefit of our region and our community is really important. So well done to those that have been involved in those negotiations. I'm sure that some of them are not easy, but I think it's really sending a strong message out to all of those that want to play in our backyard that if they want to come and play here, they're going to need to pay. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Redwood. Councillor Robinson.
Thanks and well done.
All right, councillors, if there's nothing further, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 9.4 is the public exhibition of the draft acceptance and assessment of development applications policy. Mouthful. The item is recommending that Council endorse the placement of the policy on public exhibition and receive a further report if submissions are received, otherwise the policy will be adopted. So the details are from page 59 of the agenda and 139 of the attachments. There is a recommendation on the screen. Could I have a mover of this or otherwise? Mover is Councillor Imad, seconder is Councillor Gadders. Councillor Imad, anything to say around this? Councillor Gadders? So for the absence of Councillor Gadders' microphone being on, he is very happy with it and he hopes people take the opportunity to review and put some submissions in if required. All right, councillors, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Councillors, item 9.5 is relates to insurance payable under lease to Armidale livestock selling agents. This is an item that's returned from the November ordinary council meeting. So we have details on page 61 of the agenda and page 144 of the attachments. There is a recommendation on the screen. Councillor Redwood would like to move it or something similar.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's an alternative which will probably pop up in just a minute. So in yellow, so rather than
just maybe wait for that because we're monkeying around there with item 9.6, whereas we need to be at item 9.5.
Yeah, we're in the wrong.
So you've got an alternate A and B to what the recommendation was.
So A and B. So the original A and B was a 75-25% split, and proposing to do a 50-50 split with A and B.
Okay. We'll put that. You're moving. We'll get to see if there's a seconder for it. If there is, then we'll get you to speak to that. So do I have a seconder? Councillor Imad can second that. So Councillor Redwood, would you like to speak just a bit more?
I would, yes. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. So this arrangement with the Armidale livestock selling agents relates to one that was made a couple of terms of council ago, and now we're finding ourselves in a position where we need to discuss it. While I recognise that council's within its legal rights to recover 100% of the insurance monies owed, it would be, I think it's important to draw a line under this and move forward. The livestock selling agents had made an offer originally of 50-50, and so reverting back to that offer, I propose that we use this as the mechanism to resolve this, and then moving forward with the new lease, once it's drawn up, make it very clear about who's responsible for what in that new lease. So that's the rationale behind this.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor Imad, do you wish to speak to it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I read this issue with the lease and the paperwork attached over the past couple of months, and I think we are here, regardless of how we got here. Litigating this matter would be no less than 20, probably 25 without the provision of appeal, and I think if we were going to litigate 75% or 100%, we could find ourselves paying the same amount in discount. So hence why I say, look, we should adopt it, offer them the 50%, and let's move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, anyone else wish to say something? Councillor Witters.
I've got a question. I think it goes to the GM. Just in regards to Councillor Ahmed's comments about the recoup, whether it's 50% or whether you go to litigation, it'll be the same sort of thing. Just trying to word it so it makes sense. The likelihood, if the original recommendation of 75-25 is passed, is there any likelihood that either council or ALSA will then go, no, we don't agree with it. So ALSA might say, no, we don't, we want to go to court and we want to make it the 50-50, or will it be basically left, okay, council's made their decision, let's go from that. Like, is there scope for ALSA to take council to litigate council to make it 50-50 as they've proposed, or if council decides to make it, if we choose here to make it 75-25 and recoup the $53,000, what's the likelihood of it then moving to the next stage and going to litigation between the two parties? Does that question make sense?
Thanks, Councillor Witters. I can't speak for ALSA. Obviously, I don't know what they might do. I mean, I don't think either party ultimately want to litigate. And that was why the idea of 75 payable and a dispensation of 25% was suggested, because that would be the likely range. If it was to go to litigation, that would probably be the likely range of pricing, of what it might cost. I mean, you know, and again, one of the reasons why we as a staffing group have recommended this, you know, that we don't accept the defence, the dog ate my homework defence. You know, it was really clear through the lease what the payables were, what the outgoings were, and we're very happy to stand by that. But again, in the same way that Councillor Ahmed mentioned, in order to move this along and get to a position and offer some goodwill, that was why the recommendation that's been written from a staff perspective has been written the way it is. But can't comment on what else they may or may not do.
Okay, thank you. So, and I'm hoping, because I'm sure the movers will use their right to reply in this, to add a bit more substance to the reasoning of making it 50-50 and give the benefits of council to council, because that's who we represent here is in regards to this situation, the benefits to the council of making it 50-50 instead of the 75-25 that council has proposed to begin with. Noting that, yes, there should have been, during that time period, there was a bit of, from my memory having been here at the time, I think the finance officer may have moved on, and then we went into administration and a few other different things. So there might have been things got, on a council perspective, things got sort of missed and lost along the way. So saying that, yes, council had a responsibility to send out invoices as well, but considering what was going on at council at the time, I'm sure a few other things may have got left to the side as well. So I would like, if you're asking for my support on this, more substance on why you, to the benefit of council, of not going with a 75-25 and going with a 50-50 based on the information that's in the report, that what the steps council have done, the legalities and the report, because having, been involved in situations like this before with different organisations that do owe monies to council and worked with them to get those bills paid and those debts recovered. I do know council's fairly lenient in their approach to try and do what's best for both parties. And that's another thing I'd like to hear from the mover of this motion is, how does this benefit both parties in the end? Like the comments were, let's move it forward, which is what we want to do. Let's get rid of it and move on and continue our things. But there wasn't a lot of substance on why you've put in a different recommendation to what the officers have put in. So if you can expand on that to give some sort of reasoning to it, that would be good.
Thank you. Councillor Ahmed. Sorry, Councillor Tabor, can you turn that off, please? Councillor Tabor, can you turn yours off? So, Councillor Ahmed, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In light of this offer not be accepted by the other side, does this come back to council, the 50% offer? Does this come back to council to be litigated over here, or How does it get decided?
Well, that's exactly what you want to avoid. I mean, we don't want to be running the day-to-day business of council through the chamber, which is exactly the situation that this would create. But yeah, in the event that neither this offer or what's written or the 50-50 option, yeah, it would have to, or in turn we were taken to court if we were trying to. So let me backtrack on that. If there's a resolution on the books, that'll be made very clear to the proponent that that's the amount of money payable. In the event that they choose not to do that, we would have no choice but to either start litigation or in turn that may very well happen from the other party, but not a position anyone really wants to be in. But yeah, that's where it might end up. So no, it doesn't necessarily need to come back through here. We'll just, if we get litigated against, we'll defend, and if the position of council is they want 75% or 50%, whatever it might be, and the proponent doesn't want to pay that, we'll have to litigate.
I'll come. Sorry, Councillor Tabor, if you turn that off, I will make sure you are next.
Just a quick follow-up. Does the motion in its current format, the 50% proposed, tie us up to that amount? If they reject the 50%, do we litigate the full amount, 75, or the 50?
I would, well, I'd be going the full amount myself. Yeah, the full 100. So yeah, if this is a compromise, you don't want that, no problems. We'll litigate for the full amount.
Thank you. Councillor Tabor.
And look, to the defence of the livestock selling agents group, this is probably one of the longest standing groups that's been in this community. It's been here forever. My father was even on that committee back in the 60s, and my father-in-law also. And probably this organisation has probably brought more money into this community than anything that I know. And I just feel as though it's, and I know we make an exception here, but I just think that's something we can actually afford to do, and I think we should support this motion.
Thank you. All right, councillors, anything else? Councillor Redwood, it's your motion. You were the mover, so you'll after a closing comment if no one else has anything to say. Councillor Redwood.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Widders, for inviting me for my right of reply and to answer your questions. I think the reality, for a turn of phrase, is that looking at, if you put this to the pub test about what's reasonable and what's fair, then I think the 50-50 passes the pub test. As Councillor Tabor pointed out, the group that sells through the sale yards, both here in Guyra, it is an important group to our community and the economy of our region. And so we don't know whether the 75 would have been accepted. I'm not sure, but at the moment, I think making it palatable and sharing the pain between both parties, to me, just seems like a fair outcome. So.
Thank you.
Am I allowed to ask another question of the mover?
Sure.
Just based on those comments, Councillor Redwood, not knowing whether the 75 would be agreed to, do we have any assurance that the 50%? How do we have any assurance that the 50% will be agreed to? What if they come back and say, no, we want to knock off 25 of them. We only want 75 of them. We only want to pay 25. Where do we draw the line? Where's the assurance to say, why do we choose 50? Why not 60? Why not 40? Like, where's the assurance to say this amount will be paid? Or are we just picking a number out of it? Like, this is the line that council's drawn at 75. Where is the assurance that the 50 that you've proposed is, and again, back to Councillor Ahmed's point, if they say, no, we don't want to pay 50 either, why are we choosing 50? Like, why is the number 50 that you've proposed in this motion?
They proposed 50-50 early on and it was withdrawn. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, Councillor Witters, and I don't know. I've not spoken to anyone about it, so I don't know. But 50-50 is sharing a responsibility. I mean, I would imagine that you would agree with that if you go 50-50 with someone, you're sharing the responsibility equally. So that's the position that I have proposed. But I don't know. I don't know where the line is. Maybe, as you said, maybe the line for them is 0. I don't know. I can't answer your question.
Thank you. Councillor Gaddis.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to put this to the vote, please.
All right, well, it's been called. Let's put it to the vote. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those against? I declare that carried 8-1. To go. All right, item 9.6, this is the planning agreement for the Gara battery energy storage system. So that Gara battery is one of a number of large batteries planned for our region. It should be noted that similar to that previous item concerning the Oxley Solar Farm planning agreement, this agreement is setting a standard throughout the state and is the second one that this council has negotiated in recent months. It also sets a clear benchmark to other developers as to the expectation of ARC when it comes to batteries. This is going to become a really important thing down the track, given what is on the horizon. So we have details from page 65 of the agenda and from page 197 of the attachments, and I'm calling for a mover, which looks like Councillor Robinson is the mover, and a seconder can be Councillor Witters. Councillor Robinson.
Well, I think this is a doubly important move. Firstly, because batteries are good. We need batteries in the renewable energy zone. And the second thing, this is a landmark agreement. So well done all, and let's look forward to it happening.
Thank you. Councillor Witters.
Yeah, I agree. And it's good just reading earlier today, just in regards to battery storage and a few other different things, that even in regards to cars now they've come up with a new battery that's hard solid. I think from memory, battery, it's not lithium anymore, it's more of a solid battery storage, which provides more energy, longer storage, all that sort of stuff. So the technology, which has been a bit of a talking point a long time, is continuing to get better with these sorts of things. So I think heading in the right direction for where the world's heading.
Thank you. Councillors, anything more to add? Councillor Imad.
Just asking Councillor Witters about, what did you say about the battery? I missed that part.
Okay, thank you. We might be, whilst it's adjacent, we might be veering. Councillors, probably also worth noting that with this particular agreement, it's consistent with our community benefit framework that we adopted in the last term around storage. And so, as I said, it's the second one of those, and we now have a precedent. So all those in favour, those against, Councillor Witters, which one were you? In favour, thank you. All right, I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 10.1, integrated planning and reporting. So council is being asked to note the status of the delivery plan and the operational plan for the period July to December 2024. We have details on from page 69 of the agenda and 200 of the attachments. There is a recommendation on the screen to note that report. Thank you, Councillor Robinson is moving it. Can I have a seconder, please? Thanks, Councillor Gaddis. Councillor Robinson, anything
This is a very important and informative report, and I really wish I'd be able to see it earlier, and then I wouldn't have had to ask a question about the creeklands. But it would be good just to consider having something like this online all the time so that both councillors and residents can see it and be informed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gadders, anything to say?
Just briefly, Mr Mayor, this is, I concur with Councillor Robinson. This is a very good report card. For those that get the opportunity to read through it, the projects are closed, finished or well on track. There's only a few of those that have been deferred, so well done to all the staff. Very good report card. Thank you.
Thank you. It is, and it does look like a report card as well. All right, all those in favour, let's put it to the vote. All those in favour, thank you of noting that. I declare that carried unanimously. Item 11.1 is the Kempsey Road status report. So this is a regular report providing updates on that Kempsey Armidale Road restoration project, and Council is being asked to note the report. Details are from page 42 of the agenda. Councillors, actually not 42, it'll be 72. Could I have a mover that we note that? Thanks, Councillor Robinson, and seconded. Pardon? Oh, okay. Well, move Councillor Endres, seconded Councillor Redwood. Councillor Endres, anything to say?
I'd just like to say job well done. It's been a huge project, and I'd just like to commend all the staff for being on board with it.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Councillor Redwood?
Here.
Excellent. Councillors, all those in favour of noting that report? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. We now come to the notices of motion, and we have two from Councillor Imad. So the first one is item 12.1 regarding titled Combating Anti-Semitism. So details are from page 76 of the agenda. I'll call upon Councillor Imad to move the motion and provide some context before we seek a seconder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, anti-Semitism has reached some really alarming levels in Australia in recent times, and we are not immune from those problems in Armidale, having, experienced that myself. And now I brought this forward, although we don't have a major Jewish population here, but even if it's one, we need to make a stance. Now, we are a multicultural community, and it is important that we make a clear commitment that bigotry and any form of discrimination will not be tolerated. My motion aims to acknowledge this troubling trend and reaffirm our council's commitment to tolerance, social cohesion and the safety of all individuals regardless of race or religion. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That's the movement. Do we have a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Redwood. Councillor Imad, you now have a motion at foot. You gave the introduction, but anything further you wish to say?
I just hope my colleagues support it.
Thank you. Councillor Redwood.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Ahmed. Going back to your point, we don't have a large Jewish population in our region, and I don't believe that we've got a huge issue relating to this. However, I wouldn't want to be not supporting something that was talking about a particular group of people being perpetrated or feeling uncomfortable or unsafe in any particular, in any region. I think the spirit of your, I didn't write your motion, but the spirit of it is about inclusivity and ensuring that anyone who wants to live or play in the Armidale region feels welcome and is not in a position where they feel like they're unsafe. So hence, I support what you're saying, even though I don't actually believe the particular issue at hand is a major one here in our region.
Thank you. Councillors, anyone else wish to say something? Councillor Witters.
Yep. I'm all for calling out any forms of prejudice, racism or bias towards any group. I like number 2 especially, and I'd like to see a follow-up, and I'm happy to work with Councillor Imad on this if there's not one already. A follow-up on what exactly follow-up motion on what our commitment is. Let's put it into writing, what our commitment to combating anti-Semitism and racism. So let's have a full proper statement about it, and so the community understands council's standpoint on it. So that's something we can work towards and come back later on in the year with a statement of commitment, I suppose, in regards to what that's all about.
Thank you. Councillor McMichael.
I'd like to say that I agree, especially with number 2, as Councillor Whitty said. I like an inclusive society. I like one free from racism and free from prejudice.
Thank you. All right, councillors, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Councillor Imad, you also had item 12.2, which is strengthening law and order. So in a similar vein, I'll just get you to move the motion and provide a bit of context before seeking a seconder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just quite obvious to everyone the issues we are facing in Armidale. It is relatively new in the numbers we are facing. I attended that rally that was organised on Saturday, and I got to hear some of the victims. And one elderly lady, she's been broken into 5 times. Another lady, she was viciously assaulted. Now, I've got to put a caveat there, she was from Tamworth, but it's a similar trend and haven't seen the rise in Armidale. It's quite concerning. Having listened to the police the other day, one particular point sort of stuck in my head when he said, sitting in your chair, he was asked about whether the cars were unlocked. It seems like just a normal question. But in the background, you might think, is Armidale losing its innocence? So when you live in a country town, you would want to walk out and feel safe. You want to be at home feeling safe, having the door unlocked. I know we're moving on with times, but we as a council, we've got to try and do our best. I know we can't make legislation on law and order, but we can lobby other groups, work with other groups, and this is both on the judicial side or working with groups to try and cater to the criminals, I guess, that are committing those crimes, establish rehabilitation centres or opportunities, whatever. But as long as we can have an input and show the community that we are working with all authorities to try and get the problem under control. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Imad. Councillor Redwood is seconding the motion, so we now have it on foot. Councillor Imad, you gave us a lengthy intro. Anything further to say?
I'll just note that in point 2 of the motion, that's been resolved already. I just want to note that we already had our first meeting with the police, and that will be ongoing as we go through.
Terrific. Thank you. Councillor Redwood, anything to
Thanks,
say?
Mr. Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Imad, for your motion. I think it's fair to say that, yes, in the recent months, the Armidale region has suffered a higher than usual crime rate. We had that confirmed by the police when we met with them on Monday. I think it's fair also to say that this council has been active in its in a way that it's attempted to participate in tackling crime. So, as you said, it's not our job to enforce law, and it's not our job to create legislation. However, it is our job to advocate and act with others to be able to make our residents feel safe and to reduce the amount of crime. It is factual that the council works with groups in the region to be able to reduce crime and get to the source of the problems. So to that point, I think yes. Who doesn't want a safer place? Who doesn't want to reduce crime? I just think that it's good to put it into perspective to say I don't think this is a new thing for this council to be actively working against or to try and combat crime in the region.
Thank you. Councillor McMichael.
I'd like to thank Councillor Ahmed for his motion. We are working with various groups to try and assist people. So we are working with Backtrack. We are talking to the police about what we can do as a council. And we have some suggestions about what we can do as a community. We're doing our best, and we regret that people feel unsafe, and we're doing our best to see what we can do.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, with the indulgence of the mover and the seconder, I'd like to suggest a couple of minor amendments, which is basically to add in, after frontline policing and diversionary programmes such as justice reinvestment, and then also on point 3, neighbourhood watch schemes, diversionary programmes and effective reporting systems.
Okay, so just Councillor Robinson, we might need you to slow that down. So if you could repeat it again, maybe just do your point 1 and they can type it up and highlight it, and then the mover and seconder can make a decision, and then your point. So, Councillor Robinson, can you please...
It should be diversionary programmes such as justice reinvestment. SIONARY. No S, not C. Such as justice reinvestment.
Could you please highlight that? Thank you. And then in point 3, you
and
had...
point 3, and then just add again diversionary programmes after neighbourhood watch schemes and diversionary programmes. Spelling it right, of course.
No, that's it.
That's fine.
So, mover and seconder, are you guys happy with that or not happy with that? Councillor, yeah, thanks.
Councillor Robinson, if I could ask you a question, what is justice reinvestment? I think I understand diversionary programs, but I'm not certain what that means.
Yeah, justice reinvestment is in fact a diversionary programme, and it aims to spend the sort of money that we would be spending on keeping criminals in jail and trying to keep them out of it, which time and time again has shown to be cheaper. And the one thing that, as everybody knows now, we had our first regular bi-monthly meeting with the local police, and the one thing the police officer emphasised was diversionary programmes. And the other thing he said that really, really struck me as being extraordinary is he says it now takes $1 million, it costs $1 million a year to keep a youth person in custody type thing. And I didn't really believe it at the time, but I looked it up on the New South Wales government website, and it's $2,000 odd plus dollars a day, which is $1 million a year. So if we can better spend this money, or if we can encourage people to better spend this money, we'll all be better off.
So that provides some clarity. We're still at the mover and the seconder, whether they're accepting this as part of the motion or whether it'll have to go to an amendment.
Mr Mayor, I don't think I have an issue with it. When you say diversionary program, is it, you mean stuff like backtrack, PCYC?
Yes, stuff like backtrack. And if we had a look at what the police officer said, he was talking about offering traineeship. He said diversion is the key to reducing crime, offering traineeships, etc. Backtrack, PCYC, and probably other things to keep kids off the street and give them better ways to spend their time than getting into crime.
Mr Mayor, I don't have an issue with that.
Okay, thank you. And I imagine the seconder, where are you then?
I support the amendment, and just to clarify, it's not 1 million, it's 1.1 million per child per year. So you're quite right.
Thank you. Facts are important. All right, let's crack on as we were. So we were after now. Councillor Tabor, you wish to say something about the motion?
Yeah, just point 4, where we say improve street lighting and cameras. Could we? And we heard on Monday that our camera system is way out of date in this town. So no doubt needs upgrading. So could that be included in there, that we upgrade to a more modern system?
Sure. I mean, again, might have to go back, but my read is it's probably captured. But anyway, if you'd like some wording, the mover and seconder can drop it in. Sorry, I might just throw it to the general manager who's doing backflips next to me.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, I just think it's important probably not to do policy on the run. I think it's acknowledged that there might be some needs for upgrades, but let's understand what that means and what that's going to cost us and what the commitment's going to be before we actually commit to it. Why I say that is I want to just draw your attention to the most recent issues we've had at the airport. The amount of money that we've had to expend to get back up and running, and then what's going to be required moving forward is really going to put this council's thinking cap on in terms of budget and what that's going to mean for us in terms of some of the things that we may not be able to do moving forward because of the amount of money that we're going to have to invest in the airport if council wants to retain airlines coming in and out of Armidale. So again, I know what you mean, Councillor Tabor, but I just think to be definitive and say let's commit to an upgrade when we don't know what that might mean in terms of A, cost, and B, what the opportunity cost might be with some other stuff that we've got to do might just be a little bit premature.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Sorry, Councillor Tabor, you comfortable with that?
Yes, I suppose a no. We know crime is obviously a big problem. We heard on Monday that it's really getting worse, and probably the camera system is the only defence we've got in this town really to make a difference. And just hearing what was said to us on Monday, and Moree has a better system than we have. So I just maybe think we should be looking at that. Okay, it's possibly a separate thing we need to address, and I accept that. But I do think it needs to be looked at.
Thank you. We had Councillor. You'll get a right of reply, Councillor Reimer. Councillor Gadders was next.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Concur with General Manager's statements about not wanting to do policy on the fly. But I actually, through you, Mr Mayor, wanted to direct some questions to Councillor Witters because I believe this was the item you disclosed on. But saying that, I believe you're probably the most experienced in the room based on your role and your day job to, I guess, if there's any advice or anything you'd like to add to the above, could you please share?
Sure, I'll try my best. So I was going to say, noting that number 2 we're now doing, which was started on Monday. So the good bit of foreshadowing there from Councillor Ahmed. Well done. Number 4, I'd like to sort of speak to it without trying to give too much away. Having spent some time in other police districts and towns and watching their CCTV, they were able to follow a police chase by moving the cameras and be able to follow where the car actually went the whole time. If you wanted to keep yourself occupied, you could start at Munning and find your way to the new burger joint and not get seen by the cameras here. So maybe the explore the cost might be something we can put in. Another motion can be written later on, or a key pillar working group can work with the police department and maybe some security people and all that sort of stuff to come up with a better system and look at different systems and the costing of what a proper system was and putting it in the appropriate places as well. A lot of the majority of the crime recently has been conducted by visitors, let's put it like that. So finding which part of the world the visitors are coming from and which part they're going to, so putting the cameras in the right spot. Maybe a better use of money and time and resources and everything else like that, and just having a plan, looking at how, I think as a council, we can look at these towns that have a higher crime rate than what we regularly do. As was mentioned Monday, our regular crime rate isn't the highest. It's when we've had over probably the last 10 years, 5 or 6 instances where we've had some visitors come and really cause some trouble. But our regular crime rate could be considered low compared to other parts of the state. So if we look at maybe working, whether it's the joint organisations of councils that we're part of and having a look at their towns and seeing some of the higher risk towns, some of the plans they've got in, maybe implementing those sorts of strategies early on would be good. It was mentioned earlier about the sanctity of the town and not being able, not having to worry about locking your doors and all that sort of stuff and whether we're losing that. I suppose a campaign of vigilance, like here are some things you can do that as a council we can promote. Those sorts of things of keeping you and your family and your contents in your home and all that sort of thing a lot more safer. And I suppose one of the things that we can do, and when I do get just off the top of my head, is what's what I'm looking for? Enlightening people in looking at ways that criminals work. It might be the fact that you've left your bathroom window open to let the dryer continue on, and you think, oh yeah, it's on the second floor, but it's safe. But then you've got a table outside that they can climb up on. So looking at something like that where we promote different things and different ways to look at that sort of stuff. So I think it's a key pillar working group looking at those sorts of things and getting the right people in the room to then get the information out to the public to say, hey, this is the law of the land nowadays. Yes, we still want to be able to go for a walk around the street and leave our front door open, but just to make things a little bit more safer. This is some things you can do to do it. So I think setting up, I'm not sure which key pillar working group would do that. But we also, back to the point, we have to be responsible about what discourse gets thrown out as well. Looking at the top one, I'm better on out of time. But bail and sentencing laws, you've got to think about some of the stuff that's been thrown out in social media about just lock them up. What happens if you just lock up everyone and then, as was mentioned, it's already costing a lot of money. If they're all just getting locked up straight away, then they get full. Then you've got to go leave them at the police station, and that incurs extra overtime and all that sort of stuff. So the diversionary tactics, PCYC, better employment things, working with different, actually a little bit extra time, working with different services. So working with the education department and catching these kids, catching people earlier, working with employment agencies because idle hands are the devil's playground. If these people are sitting around not looking or not having something to do, then they're looking to get this something, So if we can work with different agencies, different workplaces, different schoolings, health, all the different agencies within, get them into a key pillar working group, working at the same thing, knowing what we're aiming for as part of a council, I think it will help lower keep the crime rate here low. You're not going to stop all criminals, but there's some that walk the edge on whether you push them in the right direction and off they go, or you leave them to their own devices and they head in the wrong spot. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. All right, councillors, let's put it to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that that carried unanimously. Councillors, this takes us to the 13 sections. I'd like to do 13.1 and 13.3 together. They are the Traffic Committee minutes, so the minutes for December 2024 and February 2025. And there is a recommendation that the minutes be noted. So I'll call for a mover, which would be Councillor McMichael. The seconder can be Councillor Redwood. Councillor McMichael, as the mover, would you like to expand on some of the highlights from the Traffic Committee?
Yes, thanks. We've had a significant number of social events in the last few months. We've had the show at Gyra last week, and we've got the show coming up in Armidale soon. We're planning for Anzac Day in April, and CASA at the airport has asked us to put a stop sign as a specific request. So we're going to do that. So thank you.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Anyone, Councillor Redwood?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor McMichael. I just wanted to mention something that's been raised to Council and to the Traffic Committee that doesn't appear in the minutes, in case someone was looking very carefully at them, about a concern that was raised at Black Mountain outside the school with speed limits and signage and various things. It's not been overlooked. It will be raised and dealt with, but it just doesn't appear here at the moment, just purely because of timing.
Just a reminder that the committee is a statutory committee, which means that council doesn't run it. It's run by traffic and run by the police, and so we meet, but it also has to go to various other groups, and so we take our time, and when we have to take note of traffic conditions and do notices for people, it can take time to do the due process. But if we don't have actual counts for people, then we can't actually tell you how fast people are going or how much traffic there is, and it doesn't help you at all when your complaint happens. So even though it doesn't happen on the minutes, there are things happening behind the scenes, and I thank all the staff for all their fabulous work.
Excellent, thank you. All right, those in favour of noting those, oh, sorry.
No, I just wanted to ask one question, which was on page 86, in relation to the 3-car parking adjacent to the IT and regulatory offices. I presume that's Cinders Lane. You can take it on notice if you like, but I'm just interested.
Yes, it's Cinders Lane. Yes.
Thank you. All right, Councillor Witters.
Councillor McMichael, just looking at the closure of that section of Beatty Street. Is that from the corner where the New England Hotel is down to the corner of Central? And that's a long time for that part of the street to be closed from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. on a Thursday, considering the traffic flow that goes down through there. When it says preliminary approval, what does that mean?
I'll have to get back to you. There's a map somewhere, but mine, I'll check.
Right, it's time. Let's put it to a vote. All those in favour of noting the minutes for as per 13.1 and 13.3. Thank you. Those against? That is unanimous. Item 13.2 is the minutes of the Sports Council meeting held in December. Can I have there's a recommendation on the screen that council note 5 different items that fell out of that. So can I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Redwood. A seconder? Thanks, Councillor Gadders. Anything to say in regards to those Sports Council minutes? Okay. Councillor Gadders.
I look forward to Councillor Andrews being part of the Sporting Council going forward and being our liaison officer. So I hope in future OCMs we get the opportunity to hear the good work that's happening over there. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Councillor Gadders. All right, councillors, those in favour of noting those minutes? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. We now move to 2 notices of motion. Two notices of motion. Questions on notice, both from Councillor Robinson. So the first one is in relation to the Creeklands Master Plan. So I'll just call for a mover and then a seconder, and if we have a motion, we can go from there. Councillor Robinson is moving it. So we're asked to note the council response. Do I have a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Tabor. Councillor Robinson, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you for the information. It was very, very interesting, and I do believe that the Creeklands and indeed the cycleways we saw from Mr McCann are very important aspects of the heart of our community. And I look forward to some good developments and also some good further community consultation on these issues.
Excellent. Thank you. And the second question on notice. Sorry, that was you're moving that. Had it seconded. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favour of noting the response? Thank you very much. Councillors, 14.2, it's a second question on notice from Councillor Robinson in relation to Council Actions Report and an update on the funding to the National Water Grid. So, Councillor Robinson, would you like to move that? Thank you. Do we have a seconder so we can discuss if need be? Thanks, Councillor Witters. Councillor Robinson, anything to say there?
Yes, again, the answers were very, very interesting, and it was partially answered with the actions report, and I look forward to the enhanced actions report, which I believe again was mentioned in the business paper. And for the National Water Grid, yes, we now know that that first application wasn't successful and something else will be done in its place. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. Anyone else wish to speak to that at all? All right, let's vote to note the response. Those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Councillors, that brings us to the end of the open session of council. Thank you very much. Can I please have a motion to move into a closed session? If resolved, we'll ask the public to exit. Thanks. Moved by Councillor McMichael, seconded by Councillor Imad. All those in favour to move into closed? Thank you very much. There, Mark. All right, councillors, welcome back into the open session of council. I'll ask the General Manager to read out the resolutions of the closed session.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. 3 items in closed session tonight. Item 15.1, a tender recommendation, Curtis Park expansion. Resolved by council that endorse the award of RFT A 2024/85 Curtis Park expansion to Grace Civil Landscapes Proprietary Limited, ABN 35601437003, for the lump sum contract price of $813,087.66, including GST. B, authorise the General Manager to approve variations to contract A 2024/85 in accordance with his delegation and within the value of the total project funding and or his delegation, and to authorise all documents related to the contract. C, approve the allocation of 20% contingency for the project from General Fund. And D, permit the installation of a mobile cafe for the park to be rented to a suitable tenant should a grant of $140,000 be obtained from the New South Wales Government and subject to a DA being obtained. 15.2, Mr Mayor, Linland Park water entitlements. Resolved by council that they approve the release of funds from the water reserve for the purchase of the water entitlements, and B, delegate authority to the General Manager to negotiate and execute the purchase of all privately owned water entitlements. And item 15.3, tender recommendation, electric vehicle infrastructure supply and installation, 5 Cinders Lane. Resolved by council that they endorse the award of RFT A 2025/03 installation of EV chargers in the council car park, 5 Cinders Lane, Armidale, to EVSE Australia Proprietary Limited for the lump sum contract price of $321,463.98 inclusive of GST. B, authorise the General Manager to sign and execute contract documentation on behalf of council. C, authorise the General Manager to approve variations to contract A 2025/03 in accordance with his delegation and within the value of the total project funding and or his delegation. D, approve the allocation of a 10% contingency from General Fund. And E, note that $240,000 in funding will be provided via the Oxley Solar Farm Planning Agreement, with the remainder of funding, including contingency, to be provided via general funds. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr General Manager. Well, there being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 5:33.